you haven't pre-ordered F1 2017 just yet, guys, don't forget to check out Simply Games for a brilliant price as well. Be top link down the description, guys, and if you order through that link, you also help me out. Hello everyone, and welcome then, guys, to the start of my F1 2017 Weber's Return Career Mode, guys. And as you can possibly see already in your screens, that the guy looks nothing like Mark Webber. I can only apologise for that. It wasn't exactly the best done version of him in the world, guys. But here we are then for the start of my F1 2017 Weber's Return, guys. And briefly, sort of whilst we go through the first few things, if you didn't watch the preview video, you won't have obviously seen that I'm actually going to be driving for Williams. Now, after the 2016 season, Felipe Massa obviously decided to call it a day, and with the news of Lance Stroll signing for the team, they needed an over 25 to take up the second seat. So Mark Webber opted to make a one-year return back to the Williams team, guys. And, that is what we are here for today. That's sort of like the backstory behind this, sort of the whole idea behind it, guys. But just have a little discussion then, obviously, whilst Eva talks about contracts and things. Obviously, we've already all seen that many times before. But, basically the whole plan for this series is more to, obviously my McLaren Honda career mode is very much meant to be as realistic and, sort of full as possible. We've got everything from like all the strategy behind it and everything. Whilst this Weber's Return career mode is sort of meant to be more just about the raw racing. So we've only running 25% races. We are running 0 assists though. On the other hand, we've got no racing line, no pit assist, nothing like that. Although I don't use most of that anyway. Obviously, no traction control or anything like that. Only 25% races, but we've got one-shot quali. So if it goes wrong, then it goes wrong, guys. No rewinds as well. So we are literally just doing everything. We're trying to make it as difficult as possible, but also, I sort of want to keep the racing as pure as possible. And I found that 25% races, although, usually they don't give you a mix-up of strategy, the racing on the face of it is usually very good, guys. But obviously, here we are then for our contract. Unfortunately, it's not perfectly realistic, because I doubt we'd be second driver to Lance Stroll if this was obviously the real deal, guys. But, we can gloss over that for the sake of this career mode, guys. And the Williams car, actually still very strong on this game, which is, quite nice to see. But I'm going to completely skip over free practice, all the R&D programs for this series, guys. And we're going to dive straight on in to a one-shot qualifying. Obviously does add that extra element of if it goes wrong, then it really goes wrong. So, hopefully in this first session of the season, guys, we can still do all right. Obviously going to opt to go for a set of the ultra soft tyres. The aim, most likely, obviously, to get into the top 10, as well as to beat Lance Stroll. We're going to run 5 wings and also 7 on the rear ballast, guys, for this run. But here we are then for the first ever qualifying session of this Weber's Return career mode, guys. Down in towards turn when you want to brake just between the black box and the 100-meter braking board there. Got a pretty nice apex there, took a lot of curb. And then you just got to try and open the DRS out through this next long straight there. Braking just at the black box. Once more, they're down into third gear. They're locking up the front wheel ever so slightly there, so probably should have broke a little bit earlier. They're nearly sort of close to flat throughout the next corner. A bit of a lift then, flat through turn 5 there. Brilliant corner on this game. Breaking down once more at the black box for turn 6 there and taking a lot of curb through that corner. Probably cost myself a little bit of time there, but coming through the next corner. And down here, you want to brake it just between the braking marker and the black box in towards the next corner. They're losing the back end absolutely massively there as we go through that corner. Not exactly the ideal run. That did cost me a couple of tenths worth of time, but down now in towards sector 3 here, and down into 6th gear. They're right on the rev limiter. Short shift back up into 7th through the second part of the corner, just to try and maintain as much momentum as possible. And down in towards the final couple of corners, 100-meter braking board, braking down into 4th gear there and in towards the second to last corner here. 5th gear, short shift back up into 6th on the exit. Brake nice and early for this final corner to try and take a nice tight apex there. And through the final couple of corners, short shifting over to 5th gear. They're nearly flat out. Obviously, should be flat out with a proper setup, guys. And that's going to be a lap of Australia there, putting me up in P7 overall on the grid, ready for tomorrow's Grand Prix there. So fairly happy with that result. I'm pretty certain we will be just behind the Red Bulls, Ferraris and Mercedes. Yep, there we are. So, a little bit unfortunately, that we couldn't really sort of break into those guys. By the end of the season, I want to be winning the world title. That's sort of the aim for this series, guys. But we came to P7 then in the end, 7 tenths clear of my teammate Lance Stroll there. But Sergio Perez and Romain Grosjean doing very, very good jobs there as well to get P8 and P9, just obviously ahead of their teammates, guys. But here we are then for the start of my F1 2017 Webber's Return career mode, guys. Obviously a one-stop Grand Prix here, and actually going to run very, very aggressive on the fuel. I'm going to be running 17.4 laps worth for this race, guys. You know, really want to be running rich mix as much as possible, but obviously it will mean the car is a lot heavier in the early stages of this Grand Prix, guys. But here we are then on the grid, Mark Webber's home Grand Prix. It's 5 lights for the Australian Grand Prix, and it is lights out, and away we go. And off to a pretty decent start there. Daniel Ricciardo just in front of me there, the other Australian, not getting off to a good start, so able to move past him down in towards turn 1 there, but through the corner, Romain Grosjean there has appeared out of nowhere. Very, very good run from him. Somehow now he's up into P6 here, but we're in the slipstream of both him and Max Verstappen. Going to try and brake as late as possible there, just going at the inside of the pair of them there, squeezing out Verstappen on the exit of the corner there. So up into P5 we go in this Grand Prix, as we've got Sebastian Vettel and Valtteri Bottas fighting just a little further up the road here. And, you know, through these next couple of corners, we could potentially capitalise on this, you know, if they do cause each other into mistakes. You know, Kimi Räikkönen sort of has to sit back and watch in the early stages of this Grand Prix, guys. You know, hopefully we think about going for a move there, lock up a little bit there and run into the back of Kimi Räikkönen there, so not exactly what I wanted there. You know, we could have tried to maximise our run there, but, you know, we're still up in P5 of the Grand Prix, guys, and as you would have probably expected, just one lap later, you know, the Ferraris and the Mercedes sort of able to run away just a little bit at the moment. So, you know, I feel it's probably going to be a race between myself and the Red Bull cars at this moment in time. You know, we got Verstappen all over my gearbox here as we move on into lap 3 of this Grand Prix. But, you know, we'll have to wait and see how the rest of the race does pan out, guys. We can see, skipping on now to lap 4, the Ferraris now are battling. So Räikkönen clearly fed up of being sat behind his teammate there as we lock up a little bit through that towards the end of sector 2 there, guys. But, you know, we're still feeling quite strong at the moment, you know, and there's yellow flags out now just ahead of me there, and Valtteri Bottas has pulled to the side of the circuit there, gutting for him once more than the Mercedes power unit. But I'm pretty certain he also had a retirement in the first episode of my McLaren Honda career mode around here as well. So clearly Australia for reliability for Valtteri Bottas is not a strong point there, and, you know, he'll be absolutely gutted with that. But that does move me up into P4 of the Grand Prix there, so just one position off the obviously the podium positions in these early stages of the Grand Prix, guys. We're coming through the end of lap 6 here, and I'm locking up just a little bit there through the final corner. That won't give me the ideal run, but we're actually going to stretch this set of the ultra soft tyres one lap further in this stint. Going to move up a couple of positions there from Räikkönen and Sebastian Vettel and Hamilton. They're opting to make their pit stops on that lap, but, you know, we've still got Verstappen right behind me here, and, you know, if we get a good final lap of this run, you know, hopefully we can try and stay ahead of him, guys, as we come through the final couple of corners of this lap here, running a little bit wide as we're trying to push the car to the absolute limits here through the second to last corner there. And, you know, we do get a fairly decent run there, locking up wide once more. They're running even deeper than we did the lap before, somehow just about able to get down the power as we now enter the pit lane here. No pit assist, so just got to brake as late as we possibly can there and just barely just get the car slowed down, ready for our pit box here, guys. You know, moving on to a set of these super soft tyres. We've got to hold the clutch in, now release the clutch, and that would certainly be an illegal pit release there. That was way too early there, and unfortunately for me, Max Verstappen hasn't been able to jump me there, guys. And on the exit of the pit lane, for some reason the pit limiter wouldn't release as early as I wanted there, but Ricciardo has come from absolutely nowhere there to undercut both Verstappen and myself there, so not exactly what we would have wanted in this Grand Prix there. But, you know, we've still got a fresher set of tyres than Ricciardo here, and, you know, hoping we can try to look past him nice and quickly here. You know, Verstappen and Ricciardo hold each other up over the next few laps of this Grand Prix. That could still be very ideal for myself in this race, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. The hunted has become the hunter here, and, you know, we've got Mark Webber, who's 41, versus Max Verstappen, who's just 18 or 19 now, guys. And, you know, we're still going to show you, know, the old dog still has new tricks as we come through the second sector here, locking up the front inside tyre there just a little bit there. Not exactly what I want to be, you know, tyre wear shouldn't be too much of an issue. You know, if we can still hit the apexes quite nicely, it's not too much of a bother, guys. But coming through the fast S section here, attacking the curves as much as possible, and we've got a much better run than Max Verstappen here. Going to try and have a look right around his outside, down in towards the final sector of this lap. Ever so slightly later on the brakes, trying to pinch him over the curves, and now we move up, back up into P9 of the Grand Prix here. So very, very happy with that move. Right around the outside of Verstappen we go, but once more we lock up in towards the second to last corner there. Not exactly a very good corner for myself, one that a lot of drivers are prone to making mistakes in, guys. But now, just one lap later, Daniel Ricciardo now is all over Nico Hülkenberg, who is yet to make his pit stops here. And, you know, this has really slowed Daniel Ricciardo down a lot. So, you know, if we can try and capitalise on this, this would be absolutely perfect for me. And coming through the S section there, Ricciardo gets caught out by Hülkenberg there, going a lot slower. We're able to dive up the inside of the pair of them there through the next corner there, going for that, you know, sort of a switchback-esque move, if you will, guys. There, slow in, fast out has really paid dividends for me there as we come in towards the final couple of corners. Back up there, effectively into a net P4 of the Grand Prix. My teammate Stroll is now in the pit lane here, and that should give me another 2 positions, as we've also got Magnussen, who has dived it in as well, guys, there. And now you can see Jolyon Palmer still just ahead of me here as we come through the end of lap 10 here. He's going to dive out of the way there through the pit lane. He actually wasn't really holding me up too much at this point of the Grand Prix. You know, we've still got Daniel Ricciardo piling on the pressure, guys. You know, he wants this P4 in this Grand Prix to, you know, sort of be best of the rest, if you will, you know, behind the Mercedes and the Ferrari cars, guys. And, you know, we're just going to try and defend as much as we possibly can here. See, moving on to lap 13 of the race, Ricciardo still all over my gearbox here as we come through turn 1 once more, running massively wide on the exit of the corner there, the back end kicking out there, but there's yellow flags out, and unfortunately Daniel Ricciardo has had to pull to the wayside there. Happened to him in the real-life Australian Grand Prix, and, you know, the Battle of the Aussies has unfortunately come to a premature end there, guys. As you can see, Ricciardo pulling off to the wayside there, so that's obviously released a lot of pressure from me there, so, you know, we can't really complain about that, guys. But coming through then the final few corners of this Australian Grand Prix there, Lewis Hamilton able to take home the race victory for Mercedes there. You know, he'll be very, very happy with that result. Kimi Räikkönen there coming through in P2 from that Grand Prix, so very, very solid result from Kimi there. But down through the final couple of corners of this Grand Prix here, Mark Webber is going to come through the final corner to finish P4 on his F1 debut, especially at his home Grand Prix. You know, he's very, very happy with that.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
So obviously very, very happy there for the Williams team at the end of that Grand Prix. You know, able to take home P4 and 12 solid points from myself. Able to, you know, obviously make a few gains during that race as well, which, you know, always is extra nice there. But unfortunately, you know, we just couldn't challenge the Ferraris and the Mercedes in this first round of the season. You know, I'd like to think, you know, come sort of midway through the season with a few upgrades on the car, we might be able to get really, really close to those guys right at the very top there. But obviously Ferrari and Mercedes are very, very happy with those results. Obviously Lewis for the race victory there, and Ferrari obviously with Bottas's retirement will lead the constructors as well there. But, you know, it's looking very, very spicy after just one race of this career mode, guys. You know, hopefully it can continue throughout the rest of the season there. But Lewis Hamilton celebrating with the champagne there. A little bit miffed, you know, that we did miss out on the podium at the end of that Grand Prix. But P4 overall in that race, actually, you know, very, very happy with that still. You know, it's quite a nice change from the McLaren Honda career mode, you know, where we're barely struggling to get, you know, sort of P14, P15 in the races there, guys. But that is the final results then from the Australian Grand Prix. Sergio Perez finished just behind me there with Verstappen in P6, Ocon in P7. Then my teammate Stroll actually doing very, very well to get us 4 extra points there in the drivers' standings. But Magnussen and Carlos Sainz rounded out the points there. So 2 very, very good results from those guys at the end of the Grand Prix as well there, guys. But obviously the drivers' standings will look exactly the same as those race results, because obviously, you know, we've only had one race in this season. But obviously, interesting to see, you know, Mercedes still struggling with reliability there. And having a look at the constructors' standings, we are tied with Force India for P3 overall in the standings there. Ferrari currently lead the way with Mercedes, just 8 points back. Obviously, only after Lewis Hamilton was able to make it to the end of the Grand Prix there, guys. But hopefully, you know, you have enjoyed this video. Do not forget to like, subscribe if you want to see more of my F1 2017 Webber's Return Career Mode, guys. And I will see you next time for a brand new video.